Hello all, very good evening. Online students, am I audible? So there is a very big doubt अभी के लिए. Yeah, I don't know क्या लिखा है. Please, in the end of the class, explain how to and how often to revise the class notes for better retention. Because as the syllabus is going ahead, we are forgetting the old one. Should we make short notes, flashcards, or anything which you use or toppers use? Please guide so that we can take the content till mains 2023. आप लोगों को भी ये प्रॉब्लम लग रही है, you guys? कि पीछे वाला भूलते जा रहे हो and आगे वाला. हाँ? अरे, this is something everybody faces. Means it's not something. See, the first thing that you need to understand when you are preparing is that the syllabus is too vast. Okay, and the anthropology, GS combined, it's too vast to be remembered for 7 days or to retain for 7 days and सब कुछ एक 7 दिनों में उल्टी करके आनी है. It's very difficult to retain it. But and this problem is not something that you alone are facing. Just look around yourself. That's why I asked, everybody is facing the same problem. Yes, everybody does face it. Then what's the solution of it? To be very honest, there is no solution. Okay, there is no solution. If it would have been public अभी तक. आपको पता होता, you didn't have to ask me. और अगर कुछ ऐसा होता, I would have already told you कि ये कर लो, आपको याद रहेगा. The only solution that I believe is revision, and the problem will be there just one day before the exam also. As you will near the exam, suppose as February will approach, and then you will be completely in the prelims mode, March, April, May. So you would revise art and culture, and then you will switch on to polity. And while revising polity, out of a sudden a flash will come into your mind or a pop-up will come up कि वो Mauryan में उनकी painting कैसी थी, and then you will remember nothing. You will remember that you have read it, but then you will remember nothing, and that will create a panic attack. ये तो सब भूल रहे हैं, how to manage it. But for prelims, I can tell you, if you have read something, the prelims is not a game of say remembering everything. It's a game of पहचान कौन. Okay, you are given the question along with the answer. You just have to identify the right one. You don't have to write it. So once you have read it, you will not forget it. For sure, if you are seeing the options, most of the time we say it's a gut feeling. Our gut does not have a brain. Okay, it's completely your subconscious mind giving you a hint that this is correct. And what you are calling a gut feeling or a guess, never, there is no guess. Our brain is not programmed to give us a guess. It's somewhere down the line we have read it, and that's why a strong intuition comes there. Yes, this is the right answer. And maybe जब आप घर जाके same content को revise करोगे, you will find that this was something that was written in your notes. So it was not an intuition. It's something that your brain is giving you the hint. First thing. Okay, so prelims you can manage if you read it. And second thing, as I've told you, that our brain is programmed only to learn. Our brain do not have the programming of forgetting. If you have such problem, then there is a problem. Okay, then you need to consult a neurologist. आपको Parkinson disease है, अगर आप भूल रहे हो तो. So our brain actually is not designed to forget. We do not forget. It's what happens is the information travels between conscious and the subconscious mind. It might happen that the information might go to the subconscious mind and we are not able to recall. But that's the beauty of mains. You don't have to write the exact answer. You just have to write. Okay, so you have got all the liberty to modify. You have all the liberty to write जितना याद आ रहा है बाकी चीजों को अपने हिसाब से घुमा फिरा के लिख लो. And you're not getting 100% marks. Suppose if you write exactly correct, why would the examiner deduct your marks? Out of 1750 total marks, the overall score is, that is a very good score for cutoff, say not more than 50%. This is the best possible or one of the very good score that if you get in mains, nobody can stop your selection. Even if you get 150 marks in the interview, that's considered to be below average score. You are going to cross 1,025 marks and you will be among top 100 for sure. So 50% marks लाने हैं यहाँ पे. And 50% marks के लिए you just have to write very average answers. Remember it. So what you have to do is for mains, right? Answer writing means answer writing खूब सारी practice करो. And it's like with gradual revision, you will retain at least that much content that you will easily be able to write the answers in the exam. वो कभी नहीं होगा that you will forget, means these stories and all that stuff कि blackout हो जाता है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता कि आप एकदम completely blank हो जाओगे. It will never happen. And one thing that you have to keep in mind is that please maintain calm. Okay, बहुत ज़्यादा panic नहीं होना है. You don't have to fear, because if you are doing everything, means if you are reading regularly, if you are revising regularly, then there is no need to get that anxious or get that panic attacks. क्योंकि इसके beyond आप कर क्या सकते हो? What else can you do? अब इसके बाद तो यही है कि that employ somebody to read the papers. But as far as your capacity is there, if you are spending 7 to 8 hours daily for reading, that is what is required from an ideal aspirant. So if you are spending 7 to 8 hours daily for preparation, I don't think there is nothing to be anxious. Calm रहना है बस, ठीक है? Because if you are staying calm, if you are positive about your approach, I can assure you that nothing is going to happen. Means you will easily be able to qualify the exam with a very good score. One way of maintenance of calm, although I have, it might sound a bit awkward, it's not the right time to say, but just spend 5 minutes daily and pray. It's not something I'm proposing religion or something like that. ये कोई मेरा काम नहीं है यहाँ पे. Although we have discussed religion and I have completely disregarded it. But 5 minutes of prayer every day, and not necessarily in the morning. Whenever you have the most negative thoughts in your mind, at any point of time, any point of the day. Suppose if you're reading for the entire day and you feel like, most of you might be feeling कि रात में that आज तो पूरा दिन waste हो गया, कुछ पढ़ाई नहीं हुई. Many times पूरा week waste हो गया, we have not read anything. And majority of negative thoughts, or suppose accidentally you checked into Facebook and then you saw some of your friend Australia में India Pakistan match देखने गए हैं, and आप क्या कर रहे हो? Or maybe somebody has been promoted or has bought a house or a car or something like that, and you're feeling that what am I doing? I was better than that person in grades, in whatever ways, but he's earning, he's doing a lot of things, and where am I right now? So these are the negative thoughts that might pull you back and that further degrade your efficiency. So that is the time when you should pray. 5 minutes, whatever God you believe in, it's the best time to do that. Why? It's not like some miracles are going to happen, but it's biologically proven that during prayers, what happens is dopamine secretion in the body increases. Your body secretes positive hormones, and the anxiety will gradually fade away. And you guys need this at this point of time. I'm telling you that this 5 minutes will actually heal you. कई लोग होते हैं, means what I used to do was I believe in Hanuman, so I used to listen Hanuman Chalisa, and it hardly takes 5 to 7 minutes. I just plug in my earphones and will listen to it, and maybe sometimes I just lie down and maybe सुनते सुनते सो भी जाऊंगा. But whenever I get up or after that 5-10 minutes of break or half an hour of break, I felt refreshed. All that negative thoughts will go away, and I'll start again with a good energy, good amount of energy. And maybe उसके बाद again negative thoughts will start accumulating maybe 6-7 hours later or maybe the next day. So that's why I'm telling you that 5 minutes of prayers is very much necessary. Second thing, always maintain a very good and cordial relationship with your friends and family members, because that is something that will distract you a lot. if you are having means बहुत ज़्यादा गुस्सा आने लग जाता है. If somebody wastes my 5 minutes, या मम्मी बार 5 बार 10 बार कॉल कर रही हैं, बेटा खाना खाया नहीं खाया and all that stuff, and you feel like they are wasting my time. They do not understand the importance of my time. I'm doing something big, and they are spoiling my plan. Okay, and you get irritated very soon. You feel like they do not realize how important work I'm doing. या आपके घर से कोई अचानक से सरप्राइज विजिट कर ले, और they ask you that this is very important occasion, आपके भाई की शादी है, सगाई है, whatever it is, or maybe Diwali festivals and all. Please participate. It's not you are spending something, or it's not something you are wasting, but this will actually refresh you. अगर आप इसमें participate नहीं कर रहे हो, तो you will be spending a lot of extra time thinking something negative. वो आपका ज़्यादा time waste करेगा बाद में. So अभी if you are able to manage anyhow 7 to 8 hours, don't ever try to overstretch yourself. कि any day you are reading like 12 hours a day or 13 hours a day. Effectively, your brain cannot read effectively for more than 8 hours. So अगर आप increase भी कर रहे हो, that means the quality is kind of declining drastically. A great decline in the quality will be there. So 9th hour will be effectively hardly 10% effectivity will be there. So what you can do in say 5 minutes, you will be doing it for an entire hour. Okay. So घर वालों से बात किया करो, और फैमिली वालों से बात किया करो, और अगर जिसके बॉयफ्रेंड गर्लफ्रेंड है, तो दिस इज नॉट द टाइम फॉर ब्रेकअप. ओके प्लीज, बिकॉज दैट वुड वेस्ट योर टाइम अ लॉट. और ब्रेकअप भी नहीं करना, लड़ाई भी नहीं करनी, वो बाद में देखेंगे. ठीक है, कंटिन्यू इट जैसा भी चल रहा है, अच्छा बुरा व्हाटएवर. ओके, बिकॉज you cannot spend your energy in all these stuff that will distract your mind. So you need to make sure that you get that 1/3 part of the day for your studies, and rest 2/3 part of the day, 1/3 should be used for sleeping. 8 घंटे आराम से सो, 3-4 घंटे for daily activities, whatever you want to do. Okay, and अब प्रॉब्लम ये आ जाती है, some people might be thinking कि 8 घंटे तो क्लास में ही निकल जाते हैं, how to manage it. कोई बात नहीं यार, ठीक है, जरूरी थोड़ी ना कि 23 वाला ही निकालना है. नहीं, I'm telling you very honestly, means it's like eventually you start with the same कि 23 वाला ही कर लेंगे, क्लास के साथ साथ करना. It's very difficult. Be practical. कि 2 classes a day, or maybe some people might be having like CSAT as well, and there are people whose writing is very bad in other batch of mine, so he's attending a handwriting class also. So वैसे वाले भी लोग हैं, so they are attending like 4 classes a day. So in that case, how can you expect if you're not getting time to read, then how will you qualify 23? So ज़्यादा emotional attachment लेके नहीं चल रहा है कि जब भी attempt देना है, first attempt, it should not be say कि 23 के साथ emotional attachment है. Whenever you are supposed to give your attempt, make sure you have prepared well enough. Syllabus complete होना चाहिए. Only then you can aim for that particular year. Unnecessary over ambitious target लेके कि 6 महीने पहले preparation शुरू की and बोला कि 23 तो फोड़ ही देंगे. It's not possible. Realize, or you should realize that किनके साथ आप compete कर रहे हो. Okay, it will be a disrespect to those people who have been preparing for 2 years and 3 years and have excelled in a lot of subjects, and you are coming here assuming that 6 महीने में सब पढ़ के निकाल दूंगा. ऐसा नहीं होता है. So you should be practical, and you should not be over ambitious. Calm, composed, gradually 7-8 hours a day for 1 year, more than sufficient, consistently. And do not over isolate yourself कि रूम में बंद करके किसी से बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, इससे कुछ नहीं होगा. You are harming yourself. Okay, and second thing, just spend 5 minutes for prayer. You will realize that you have a lot of positive thoughts in your mind. ठीक है, over isolation से you are harming yourself. Over isolation से means I know a lot of people who come, आपकी क्लास में भी 1-2 हैं, and then there are other people also. So every year, just because our age difference is not so much, so students come up with these kind of issues. कि maybe किसी का breakup हो गया है, and they'll be talking about it later, or maybe some people have some other issues going on at their place, maybe in their village or their houses and whatever. And there are certain people who are experiencing divorces also, and they have done extremely well here. And I'm telling you that the challenges that they are facing, compared to that challenges, they are so much motivated that they are doing things properly. अब इसका मतलब ये है कि it's only about कि how you take up these challenges or how you take up these issues. और ये जो time वाली problem है ना, this is something that everybody is facing. Just realize this, that not anyone is there कि जिसके पास time का issue है ही नहीं. Means everybody has that 24 hours in the day. सबके पास equal time ही है. And this is the nature's way of telling you that you all are equal. You might have some extra money, some extra features, or kind of extra privileges, but nature has given you the same time to read. अब उस केस में you need to make sure कि आप time की effective utilization करो, 7 to 8 hours a day. Do not distract. मतलब that time should solely be for your study. But इसके beyond भी, whatever time you're spending for your personal well-being, you don't take it as an expenditure. It's more like an investment that will pay off in the future. If you're not well, आपकी तबीयत खराब हो जाती है by reading like 12 hours a day or by sacrificing your sleep. Definitely आप 4 घंटे यहाँ पे तो extra पढ़ लोगे, but future में you will fall ill, and what will happen? 10-15 days will be gone like this in a stretch, or your immune system will go down. So you need to take care of your personal well-being also. और यार एक चीज एंड में बस इतनी बात है कि आप लोग मेरे छोटे भाई बहन जैसे हो, just understand this fact कि ये सब कुछ नहीं है. It's just a part of your life, not an entire life. तो अगर ये होता है तो it's well and good, but don't over attach yourself emotionally with this thing कि यही सब कुछ है. बहुत कुछ है लाइफ में, और इसके बियॉन्ड भी बहुत कुछ है. Just work hard. Just make sure that you don't have that guilt कि मैंने एफर्ट नहीं लगाया. उसके बाद just leave the rest to the destiny. जो होगा देखा जाएगा. इसके बियॉन्ड आप अपने आप को एसर्ट मत करो यहाँ पे. पर्सनल वेलबींग, पर्सनल हेल्थ केयर को कभी कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं करना. पढ़ाई करनी है, मन लगा के पढ़ना है, बट नॉट बियॉन्ड ए सर्टेन लेवल. ओके, 7-8 hours a day without any distraction. That's it. So Hanuman Chalisa is really powerful. But after sleeping for 8 hours, we feel full of guilt. नहीं, 8 hours is decent. 8 hours तो आपको सोना चाहिए. आप चाहो तो 2 स्ट्रेच में सो लो, 6 hours and 2 hours in the afternoon nap, कुछ इस टाइप का. अभी afternoon nap seems like a luxury that we cannot afford, but yes, 8 hours तो अपने आप को रिलैक्स करना ही चाहिए. 8 hours से ज़्यादा नहीं पढ़ना है. यार हो जाएगा, टेंशन मत लो यार. So anything else? So we were talking about types of family. So we have looked at types of family based on residence, right? Now we'll look at types of family based on descent. Simple है, nothing to explain here. Patrilineal, matrilineal, and bilineal. So here in patrilineal, the descent is traced from the male or father's side. Here, the descent is traced from the mother side or the female side. And in bilineal, the relation from both the sides are equally important. Or descent is traced from both mother and father. So here what happens in case of mother and father? So certain rights and obligations, rituals and obligations will be inherited from the mother side, and certain rights and duties will be inherited from father side. So father side says some property will be inherited by a person. So in here, this sometimes happens in a society which is usually horticultural in nature. So women, they control the herds. So these are the goods that are controlled and possessed by the women, and they have the right to pass on these property to the next generation. So that's why the boy or the male might trace the descent from the mother side and will inherit some kind of material goods or maybe some kind of rights from the mother side, while inheriting some other immovable property like land. Land will be owned and controlled by the men, so he might inherit that land from father side. So this is a kind of bilineal. We'll be reading more about it in the next unit, that is kinship. So these are the three types: patrilineal, matrilineal, and bilineal. Now, in the same way, authority. So it can be a patriarchal family. So here, patriarchal family is the male heads the authority, or the final decision maker is the male. The second is a matriarchal family. It actually do not exist in reality. Matriarchal is just, you can say कि matriarchal जैसे कोई reality में exist करते नहीं जहाँ पे women की authority हो. But one thing that you will find in matriarchal is avanku potentiality. Rather than the husband, the woman's brother will be holding the authority, will be the final decision maker. But ultimately power male के पास ही रहती है. And the third is egalitarian families. So egalitarian families are usually nuclear urban families. So here husband and wife both are working, and they are equal participant or equal. They both have equal say in decision making. Okay. Achha, one thing that you might have seen, those who are a part of a joint family, that here in this case, usually the grandfather does not hold the authority, but grandmother holds the authority. But you are saying that it's a patriarchal institution. How can you explain this? Grandfather does not hold the authority, grandmother holds it. Majority of the decision making is done by the grandmother, not the grandfather. Usually grandfather becomes the docile figure. वो आप almost बहुत लोगों के केस में ऐसा देखा होगा कि grandfather is a very soft spoken, warm, gentle person, while grandmother is kind of a bit strict and usually takes majority of the decision in a joint family. How will you explain this in the context of patriarchy? We have already read it. Anyone who explains gets a 1,000 rupees coupon from Amazon. Just make it right. There is a specific concept that I'm talking about. Anyone? If you remember patriarchal bargaining, do you remember social stratification gender? So patriarchal, this is what is going on here. The woman in a patriarchal society, in order to become eligible to be respectful, should be following the norms of patriarchy, or in fact women become the agent of patriarchy. So they will be the one who will be executing the norms of patriarchy, who will be inculcating the next generation, and so on and so forth. So this is giving them some kind of dividend, that is respect, authority, and prestige. But as long as they are accepting the norms of patriarchy, and not just accepting it, but enforcing it, inculcating it into the next generation. So women becoming the agents of patriarchy, this is what is called as patriarchal bargaining. So here the grandmother is the agent of patriarchy, not exactly the male, but the woman herself is the reason for her exploitation. Okay. So Shambulis as matriarchal, नहीं? वहाँ पे तो conflict है ना? Sorry, matriarchal Shambulis. Actually, seeing matriarchal का ये जो idea है that if you read somewhere, so matriarchy can never be assumed as a mirror image of patriarchy. Okay, matriarchy कभी भी आप मतलब ऐसा नहीं होगा कि the way patriarchs behave and the woman is subordinated as compared to men. Whenever women get the power, the family or any kind of society usually moves towards egalitarianism. It happens. It's a trend that has been seen. If the women get empowered, it usually happens that there is no subordination, or the society becomes more egalitarian. So in case of Shambuli, although women are holding the economic power, but that has not led to the subordination of men compared to women, or in a similar way as there is a subordination of women compared to men in a patriarchal. Okay, so that's why it is said that the true matriarchy, just like or just the mirror image or mirror opposite of patriarchy kind of institution does not exist in the world. एक tribe है, that is, if you remember this tribe Hopi, they were said to be a kind of matriarchal society, well, true matriarchs. But अब वहाँ पे भी due to culture contact and all, that kind of institution do not exist. And in general also it is believed that whenever women gets empowered, the society becomes egalitarian rather than patriarchal. But thing is, if you are powerful, that is a different thing. But आपके power से कोई subordinate हो रहा है, so that will lead to patriarchy and matriarchy. वैसी वाली बात है. आप powerful हो, doesn't matter. Means if women in our society gets powerful or empowered, that doesn't create a difference in the status of men. Okay, society egalitarian की तरफ जाएगी. But if you are taking it as a zero sum game, that is somebody's empowerment should be leading to somebody's subordination, तो वहाँ पे power equation है. आप कोई भी एक section of society gets empowered, so how does this affect the status of other person? No. Okay. So this is patriarchy, matriarchy, and egalitarian type of family. We'll be reading one other type of family based on size is joint and nuclear, but that in the last we'll be dealing other aspects of joint family and some other aspects like household and domestic groups. Okay, so now we'll see functions of family. So here, first we'll see the function of family given by Murdoch. So G.P. Murdoch was the one who said that family is a universal institution. Remember the debate that we saw? So universalization of family. So here he suggested that family performs 4 indispensable functions. You can remember it by this acronym, or the same functions that were done by the marriage. biological, economic, educational, and social. So here the same: social, economic, educational, and reproductive functions are done by the family. So here in this case, these functions are done at the level of individuals as well as at the level of society. That means they will be satisfying the need of individuals, such needs, social, educational, economic, and reproductive needs. At the same time, by doing so, they will be maintaining equilibrium in the society. They will prescribe a certain way how to satisfy these needs so that the society remains stable. Okay. And now what Murdoch says that these functions are best performed by family, and there cannot exist any other institution that can actually replace it. These functions that are being performed by the family, which makes family as an inevitable institution in every society. And that's why family is universal in nature. कि ये सारे functions family से बेहतर कोई और कर ही नहीं पाएगा. It's not possible for any other institution to perform these functions better than family, and that's why they are irreplaceable, which makes family a universal institution. Just like this, Murdoch. G.P. Murdoch highlights 4 basic functions of family. G.P. Murdoch highlights 4 basic functions of families in all the societies. They are social, educational, economic, and reproductive. Although the family does not perform this function, these functions exclusively, but it makes an important contribution to them. No other institution has yet been able to match its efficiency in this respect. This makes family an inevitable and a universal institution. Okay. See, most of the times when you will be writing the same, suppose if this question comes in social issues GS paper 1, the functions of family, so then you will not be writing like this कि इसने ऐसा बोला उसने वैसा बोला. You will be writing just highlighting the functions of family. It helps in this, it helps in that, and so on and so forth. But here anthropologically, it's not the exact functions that is being asked to you, but some perspective related to the functions of family. So here the first perspective is that family performs certain functions that cannot be performed by any other institution, and that makes it universal. Now the second one is the idea by Talcott Parsons, who suggests that if family has largely become or macroscopically become functionless, and what actually it has achieved is that it specializes in 2 irreducible functions. Family has lost most of its function because of industrialization. Okay, due to industrialization, many of the functions which were earlier performed by the family has now gone. So, like caring of the child or education, now we have crèche, playway schools, or maybe old age homes are there, that is to take care of the old people. Then, for economic question, we have insurance companies, hospitals. For security purpose, we have police force, or say the security system, that is the home guards and all that stuff that provides us some kind of security. So, all those major functions which were considered to be inevitable part of family are now being done by certain other institutions. Why? Because the family members are engaged in economic activities, or they have basically some other roles to play. But there are still 2 irreducible functions that cannot be taken away from the family, and that 2 irreducible functions are, we have already talked about this, is primary socialization, and second is maintenance of adult personalities. Here he says that this primary socialization requires a warm environment, and that cannot be provided by any other institution other than the family, because we have the blood relationship, and mother shares a very close relationship with the child, and that's why the primary socialization has to be done by the family itself. No other institution can be an alternative for it. Okay, so this is the irreducible function of the family that cannot be taken away from it. But second one is maintenance of adult personalities. So here he says that once the socialization is being done, the man having socialized to be the breadwinner, if he goes to the factory, has a fight or has some kind of conflict, he might get disturbed. So that also requires a warm, caring, loving environment that would help in the maintenance of that adult personality, and that also has to be done by the family. So here the woman role as a mother in the primary socialization plus the woman role as a wife in the maintenance of adult personality has been highlighted, and he says that no other institution or no other relation can do these 2 tasks other than the family, and that's why these are the irreducible functions. The rest majority of the functions has been taken away. Okay, but there is a scholar, Ronald Fletcher, who counters Talcott Parsons and says कि instead what you are saying that due to industrialization family has become functionless macroscopic level पे उल्टा हुआ है. That is, family has not become functionless, instead the functions have increased and become more deeper or more detailed. So what you were saying that education earlier was done by the family. So yes, it was earlier education, but here we do not have to pay much for the education. But in the industrialization, the family has to pay for the education to a very large extent, since the competition has increased. So they have to make sure that they pay for a very long time also. And not just that, the family is completely involved in the education of the child. You have to attend the PTMs. Okay, you have to make sure that the child does the homework. अभी तो पहले क्या होता था? Education, that is, the child will be educated in the basic skills. Agriculture है तो he will go with the father if he's a boy, and if he's a girl, if she's a girl, she'll stay with the mother, learn all the household chores, whatever it is, right? But now she'll be sent to the school drop करना, वापस लेके आना, then doing all the homeworks, first finding the best school, ironing the clothes. You know, Delhi, in Delhi there is a big movie, I think Hindi medium. So that's a very true story of Delhi to get admission in playway schools. Sorry, not playway, means the nursery admissions. And seriously, parents have to stand in line for days to get the admission of their child into a very reputed school, and they have to play a lot of tantrums just to make sure that they get a seat. And parents have to appear for the interview, and they will be paying a very large amount of money plus appearing for the interview. And the schools will decide whether the parents are qualified enough to get this awards admission in this school. Why? Because the child has to cope up with the other students, and that's why the child should have educated parents also. And this is, has it increased the function? Definitely yes. And not just this, the parents are taking care of your graduation. They'll send you just after 10th. They will get more 10s. What should my child choose? Whether she'll be going for commerce or arts or science? She'll be going to Kota or whatever place. And then after 12th, they will be deciding where to take the graduation. So everything. Now later on marriages. Okay, now there is more specific negotiation. The contracts are too big and too detailed to be talked about. शादी में ये होना चाहिए, फलाने कैटर का खाना आना चाहिए, and so and so items for so and so brand should be there. So that discussions have become more detailed. This is what Ronald Fletcher is saying, that family has not lost the function, but rather the functions have become more detailed. बढ़ गए हैं function family के, which were earlier absent in the pre-industrial society. Only thing that he says that the economic function of the family as a unit of production and consumption has gone away, and it has only become a unit of consumption, not a unit of production. That means the earlier family was agricultural. In that case, it was both a unit of production. That means they will be having a land, they will be cultivating the land, they will be consuming, producing something, and then consuming and then trading the rest of it. Okay, but now this has gone away because majority of the people have become wage laborers. Okay, working for a daily wage or maybe monthly salary, whatever. So family is no more a unit of production, but definitely still a unit of consumption. That is, whatever salary your parents get, they will buy something out of it, and that you will be consuming it. Right? This idea was further criticized by feminists. That is, unit of production and consumption. कैसे बोल दिया कि unit of production नहीं है? So feminists say that Fletcher is saying that family is no more a unit of production. It's only because family performs the functions, or family is still a unit of production, but these production activities are not recognized because they are not paid. So women engage into a lot of activities that can clearly be said to be a kind of production activities. But so, for example, the food that your mother makes, the cooked food, if you go to a restaurant, you will pay say 500 rupees per plate for that, but she gets nothing for this. So that is, a unit of production is still there, but they are not paid and hence not recognized. So they say that, feminists say that these functions have become more intense due to industrialization. Earlier, unit of production was very much limited, but now the demands have increased. That the husbands now want a clean house, a well-arranged bedroom. Okay, and that all responsibility of it falls on the shoulders of women, for which they do not get any salary. So taking care of the child, okay, ironing their clothes, washing the clothes of the household members, preparing some good dishes, and also arranging the bedrooms and making it clean, making the house clean, decorated. So it's just like a hospitality industry चल रही है, and that is run solely by the female. कि खाना अच्छा होना चाहिए, घर साफ सुथरा होना चाहिए, decorated होना चाहिए, कोई guest आ जाए उनको भी entertain करना है. But for that they are getting no money, and that's why you are saying that the family is no more a unit of production. But these are the production activities. A complete hospitality industry is running there, but since it is non-monetized, so you are not recognizing it. So this is the idea of family. Means one is saying family ke function kam ho gaye, the other says no, it has increased in detail, and he says that only the economic function has altered. That is, it is no more a unit of production but a unit of consumption, which was taken further by feminist scholars who say that it's again a unit of production, but only that we are not recognizing it because it is a non-monetized activity. Okay, just like this. Calculate Parsons. According to Parsons, family on the macroscopic level has almost become functionless. It has become more specialized. And performs only the vital functions. There are two basic and irreducible functions of family. First, primary socialization. Right? In primary socialization, it involves internalization. Of society's culture and structuring of personality. Families are factories which produce human personalities. Second, stabilization of adult personality. Once produced, the personality has to be kept stable. The family manages emotional security. That might arise. Manages emotional insecurity. That might arise due to stress in professional life. Due to stress in professional life. Next heading, Ronald Fletcher. Ronald Fletcher counters Parsons. Fletcher counters Parsons and says that family has not only retained its function, but it has increased in detail and importance. Special institutions such as school and hospitals, have added to and improved family function, rather than superseding them. Parents are expected to guide, encourage, and support their children for their entire life. Next point. Even though family has lost its function as a unit of production, it still remains a unit of consumption. Okay, then right, next heading, feminism and economic function. Feminists tend to disagree that family has lost its economic role as unit of production and has simply become a unit of consumption. Much of the work that takes place in the family is productive, but not recognized as it is unpaid and done by women. Okay. Now we'll see impact of industrialization and then several other processes like industrialization, urbanization, and feminist movement on family. Okay. So first is impact of industrialization. So what is industrialization per se? Means it's a production or mass production of goods and services at a place. That is what it is, or by use of machinery. Here, due to industrialization, what will happen that there will be certain hubs or clusters of settlements that will be created. Jahan pe industries they are situated. So before, if you need to understand the impact of certain process on family, you first need to understand what was the type of family before industrialization actually happened. Only then you will be able to analyze the change in it. So it's before industrialization, you can understand that the setup was mainly rural and agricultural based. Here, the family was mainly united by kinship bonds, and traditions were very much important. Okay, and joint family, extended family was the case. Okay, इस तरीके की family हुआ करती थी. But post industrialization, one thing happened. That is division of labor based on specialization or skills. So you are educated, you have the skill, you will be required to work in a factory, maybe as a operator of the machine, maybe as a supervisor, maybe as a HR, or whatever role that you get based on your skill or specialization. And now this has created or this has impacted the structure of the family to a large extent. So this is what Talcott Parsons explains what actually happened due to industrialization. He gives the idea of what is called as an isolated nuclear family. He says due to industrialization, the family has become isolated and a nuclear family. So what does isolated means? It is structurally isolated. Structurally isolated means that is it was a part of a large structure before industrialization. Multiple families uniting together, living in the same house, okay, sharing the kitchen, and different role responsibilities and ways of life, means same way of life was there. But now what has happened? The family has been taken out of the structure, and also it has become structurally specialized also. That only few functions will be done by the family, and rest all has been delegated to certain new institutions that have been created due to industrialization. Because not parents do not have the time to take care of the child because they have to go to the offices. They do not have the time to take care of their educational needs. So उनके पास office के लिए time है. So in that case, what has happened? That it has become structurally isolated. It has broken down from the larger structure of it. It was earlier a part. And he says that industrialization is a kind of economic change that is happening in the society, and the family has to adjust itself and align with the economic system. So this industrialization requires geographical mobility of the laborers. So आपकी job basically you have done mechanical engineering, so you are supposed to work in an automobile factory, जहाँ पे cars वगैरह बन रही हैं. So that car cannot be produced in your neighborhood. Okay, you will have to move to the factory, and in that case, it is not possible for a person to move with the entire joint family. but it is easy for a nuclear family to relocate from one place to another, and this is why this has isolated the family from the larger structure. Plus, since both the husband and wife they are working, in that case, majority of the functions that were earlier done by the family is now delegated to the some new institutions that have been created in the industrial setup. So crèche will be there, play schools will be there, hospitals, old age homes, and all these will be coming up, and that will be taking away the functions of the family. So this is the first idea that was given by Talcott Parsons, isolated nuclear family, the result of industrialization. Okay, just write this. Industrialization refers to a mass production of goods in a factory system, which involves some degree of mechanization. Just write the heading: family in pre-industrial society. Family in pre-industrial society. First, right? Family and kinship relation. Family and kinship relation are basic organizational principle. Family and kinship relation are basic organizational principle of social life. Second, societies are divided into lineages. And these groups are responsible for production of important goods and services. Third, a network of mutual rights and obligations unite the groups. Okay. Next, Talcott Parsons and the isolated nuclear family. According to Parsons, the isolated nuclear family is a typical form of family in modern industrial society. It is structurally isolated. That is, it does not form an integrated part of a wider system of a kinship relation. Okay. Next point. Family has experienced a process of structural differentiation. It means the family has transferred a variety of functions to other structures of the society. Okay, third point. There is a functional relationship between isolated nuclear family and economic system or ecosystem in industrial society. Isolated nuclear family, इसी का point है, इसी में continuity मिलता है. Isolated nuclear family is shaped to meet the requirements of ecosystem. Since modern industries requires skilled individuals, it has led to complex division of labor in the society. There is a great demand for geographical mobility of the skilled labor. Hence, isolated nuclear family is suitable to satisfy this need for mobility. Okay. Somebody saying, sir, हाथ से लिख रहे हैं. तो मैंने कौन सा कहा कि तुम किसी और चीज से लिख रहे हो भाई? Am I dictating too fast? यार शर्म करो आप तो यार. इतने टाइम में एडजस्ट हो जाना चाहिए तुम लोग को. 3 महीने हो गए अब तो. हाँ? Okay, now here in this case he is also talking about the idea of status in the family. So इन्हें बताया कि कैसे functions delegate हो गए. Second thing, how it is suitable to the current ecosystem, that is mobility and all that stuff. Now the third most important aspect that he is highlighting is the idea of status in the family. So he says that in a family, first in the industrial society, the status is mostly achieved You get educated, you will be earning a lot of money, you get some position, whatever it is, your status will be achieved. And he says that this is based on what is called as universalistic values. What does this mean? That everywhere means once you have achieved the status, so if you are a CEO of a company, or if you are, say, a billionaire or a millionaire, everywhere in the world you have got the same status, that he is a millionaire, you can afford all the services, or there will be a number of people subordinated to you who will be calling you sir, who will be taking orders from you. Okay, that is the universalistic value, that is acceptable everywhere in the world. The same thing, that is your achievement, that you have achieved. But in a family, thus your achieved status does not mean a lot. Here in this case, the status is determined on what he says as particularistic values, where achieved status does not mean a lot. So father's achieved status does not mean a lot. बाप ही होता है. Okay, this is what happens in the family. So if in this case, suppose if the person is a bricklayer, okay, and his son becomes an IAS officer, or may his son becomes a multimillionaire or a billionaire, in this case there can be a conflict in the family, wherein the father will not recognize the authority of the son. Okay, and बाहर तो everybody is calling that person as sir and so forth, but father अभी भी चुन्नू मुन्नू नाम से बुला रहे हैं. So the authority of the person might be demeaned in the house. Okay, so this is the particularistic value. So, and there can be conflict if the family is joint. So he says this isolated nuclear family also removes this conflict, because in the isolated family there will be husband, wife and unmarried dependent children. Okay, so वैसे वाला केस कभी आएगा ही नहीं. The moment the son and daughter marries, they will form a new family, and there will not be anybody above them. And this father is actually the breadwinner, so there will be nobody who will be superseding his authority in the family. So he will be the breadwinner, and he will be the one. So जो भी उसका status है बाहर भी, whatever it is, doesn't matter. He will be able to maintain his authority in the household. His son, since he is dependent on his father or father's money, in that case he can never challenge the authority of the father. And the moment he starts earning and he gets married, he will move out of the house. He will form a new nuclear family. So that is why isolated nuclear family is also suitable for industrial societies when it talks about the status. Earlier in the pre-industrial societies, it was all okay, because father and son, everybody was doing the same kind of job. Okay, father was cultivating the land, the son will also cultivate the land, and his son will also cultivate the land. So these kind of conflicts, the chances is less. But that chances become more in the industrial societies where the status is achieved. And that's why this, in order to solve this problem, isolated nuclear family becomes a preferred family system. Okay, just like this. A traditional authority, so yes, वो तो यहाँ पे he is just using different terms with respect to like particularistic values. Corporate lineage is more related to, say, joint family. Multiple lineage groups are joined together. That's right. In industrial society, the status is achieved rather than ascribed. The individuals are judged on universalistic values. However, in families, status is on particularistic values. The father's achieved status is of little importance. Hence, in a society based on achieved status, conflict would tend to rise in a family unit larger than isolated nuclear family. In a family unit larger than isolated nuclear families. Okay. Now, another set of scholars who have analyzed the change of family due to industrialization, Michael Young and Peter Wilmot. So they have given the idea of what they call as the symmetrical family. So they wrote a book with the same name, The Symmetrical Family, in which they have traced the change in the family due to industrialization. So they have devised certain stages. So first is the stage 1, that is the pre-industrial family stage. Okay, so here in pre-industrial family stage, they say that the husband, wife and children, they work together as a team on a particular unit of production, maybe some agricultural land, or maybe as a horticulturalist, or maybe as a pastoralist, whatever they are doing, there is a kind of teamwork by husband, wife and children, and that's why family is both a unit of production and a consumption. They are owning their productive enterprise, unka khud ka hai, right? And they're producing something, they're consuming it, they're trading the surplus for some other goods. That is the first pre-industrial family. Now, the other one is stage 2. Here, that is the early industrial family. So here what happened, that this early industrial family began with industrial evolution. And what happened due to industrial evolution, several groups or several families, they started shifting towards urban areas where the industries were located. So if you have read world history, so you must have read this industrial evolution, and you must have read that due to Queen's proclamation, clustering of land started, and several farmers, they basically lost their land, and that's why they have to move to the areas where the industries were settled or industries were located, and they have to work in the factories. Or you will be reading it. Clustering of lands was the first step that was done after or during the industrial revolution by some Queen's proclamation. Here, he is talking about that due to this, what will happen? The families will move towards the areas where industries are located. And here, since industries are limited in number, so there will be a lot of employment insecurity, and also not much jobs will be there. So cases of unemployment will also be there. Moreover, since the industries are not very safe, the machines are not very safe, अभी बस शुरू में run कर रही हैं. In that case, there is a lot of security issues also. Securities of life also is there. It means machine fail कर जाती है, and you must have heard that in the initial textile mills or newspaper prints and all, workers के हाथ कट जाते थे, या फिर a lot of fatal accidents used to happen there. It was very common. Now it has been automated at any kind of glitch, and immediately the whole system stops. But that was not the case in the past. Okay, and several machines used to keep on running even if there is a whole person or maybe 2 or 3 persons, they have been crushed in the entire machinery system. So there was a lot of mortality due to the machines that were not so much sophisticated. So security was not there, and due to which what happened, the families were facing some kind of insecurity, economic and emotional insecurities, right? And what happened, and male mortality was also very high because male were the one who got the first job in the factories, not the women. So what happened due to this, that here the families, they started extending their bonds with their local or neighbors, or इस तरीके से the extended families started to develop, and this extension helped as an insurance. Because male mortality है, factory में आपका husband गया, किसी का husband गया, and he died because of machine failure or something like that, then that woman needs to have some kind of security. So that case, this extension will act as an insurance. Okay, and they say that here, since male was engaged in the daily wage work and women had the chance to develop this extension, so it is most probable that these kind of families would have been run or headed by the female only. And the conjugal relationship, that is the relationship between husband and wife, was weaker because male is engaged in the factory work while female manages the household work and also manages the extension relationship. The conjugal relationship was not that strong, but the relationship between mother and daughter was very strong because they were the one who were in the house managing the household affairs while the male used to go for the work. And this kind of family, since male mortality was high, would be led by the females. So this is the stage 2 family, and the third is the stage 3 family, which they call as the symmetrical family. What does this mean, symmetrical family? So here he says that later on, as the industrial revolution happened completely, full-fledged development हो चुका था, then there was decline in mortality at the factory work or factory sites. Okay, machines became more sophisticated, and in that case, that male mortality decline was there. Moreover, there was rise in income, and also unemployment security was also gone. So in this case, male had more income at to dispose of, plus more time to spend with the family, and male mortality come हो गई. So here the family took up a shape which is called as a symmetrical family. That is, man will be spending a lot of time doing the household chores, that is work of household, cleaning, or maybe going for shopping with the wife and all that stuff, or even taking care of the child. Okay, and this is what leads to what he calls as symmetry. And the conjugal relationship, that is the relationship between husband and wife, due to this will become more stronger, and that would reduce the need for the extended family, which was created in absence of male in the early industrial phase. Okay, abhi the family becomes more compact unit in which husband, wife, and their children will be spending leisure time. So on weekends, the family would be going to, say, malls, picture halls, theaters, or amusement parks and all that, and that would strengthen the bond between the members of the family. And here, husband will be taking or participating or doing all not exactly equal, but the contribution in the family work or household work of the husband will increase significantly, which was completely absent during the early industrial phase. So this is something that you can say as early industrial, or sorry, the symmetrical family. What Michael Young and Peter Wilmot were saying. The 3 stages. Just write this. Michael Young and Peter Wilmot, in the book The Symmetrical Family, trace the development of family from pre-industrial stage. So like stage 1, pre-industrial family. Right? Husband, wife, and children work as a team on agricultural field. Second, stage 2, early industrial family. This type of family begins with industrial revolution. The family ceased to be a unit of production and was now supported by individual wage earners. This was also a phase working class poverty due to low wages and high unemployment. Family responded by extending its network to relatives beyond nuclear family. It acted as an insurance policy for the family. The conjugal bond, that is the bond between husband and wife, was weak and the tie between mother and daughter was stronger. The conjugal bond was weak and the tie between mother and daughter was stronger. The stage 2 family was headed by a female due to high male deaths. Third, stage 3, the symmetrical family. This was experienced in a phase when the living standard arose due to increase in the wages, and decrease in unemployment. There also was increased geographical mobility. Impacts. The husband was drawn more closer to the family. And there was a significant reduction in number of children. Life became home centered. The contribution of husband in household work increased, and wife's share in decision making also increased. This brought a symmetry in the conjugal relations. Okay, so this is the impact of industrialization. One was given by Parsons. Okay, the isolated nuclear family, and he explained the functional relevance of it. The other one is the symmetrical family that was given by Michael Young and Peter Wilmot. Okay, so next one is the impact of urbanization. So what actually is urbanization? We need to understand it. So most of the times urbanization is a byproduct of industrialization, but not always. It's not that ki jahan industries hai, urbanization will happen. Yes, this is something correct, but there are certain other urban areas which are there without any industries being set up there. Okay, so what actually is urbanization? How will you define urbanization? So mainly urbanization can be understood as, first, a demographic concept. That is, there will be a concentration of population, high density of population will be there in a very small region, and due to which a particular set of infrastructures will be created, and that is what is called as urbanization. So for example, in Delhi, the average population density, in all over India, the average population density is somewhere this. Okay, while in Delhi it's approximately 11,000 people per square kilometer. Okay, and in Kota, also in Mumbai, it is even denser. I'm not exactly sure with the numbers, it's 11,000-12,000 could be, but this is approximate numbers that I have read some days back. So this is something you need to understand, that is what is urbanization. That is, the density of the population should be extremely high, and due to which a certain infrastructural changes will happen. So this is the demographic aspect of urbanization. So even in the census definition of a town, there is like that it should have a minimum population of 5,000. Then it should be having a density of at least 1,000 per square mile, and then more than 3/4 of the population should be working other than agriculture. This is the census definition of a town. Now there is another aspect of urbanization, that is the sociological aspect. That once the demography like this has been set up there will be change in the social aspects of the urban area. That means the way of interaction between the people living in an area where the population density is very high will also alter. So that relation will become more impersonal, more contractual. That is, means to an end kind of relationship, rather than obliged to do some kind of thing. I do because maybe you might have paid, or maybe I do not have any kind of relationship with anyone neighboring to me. Maybe I'll be helping someone or help या जैसे कुछ ऐसा है नहीं, but it's just like कि आप होते कोई और भी होता तो भी मैं कर देता. It's not any kind of obligation that was applicable to me while being a part of the joint family. I was in the village कि करना ही होगा, but it's all like कि बस. So impersonal, I have told you that there is a kind of means to an end relationship. Most of the relationships that are here in urban areas will be voluntary. These relationships exist, or these relationships are there because I chose to be a part of it. It's not something that I have inherited from my parents, but it's just that I have chosen to be a part of it. And this is what Ferdinand Tönnies, if you remember, explains in the transition from Gemeinschaft to Gesellschaft. We have talked about this when I was talking about society and culture, I guess. So this Gemeinschaft to Gesellschaft is the transition that will happen when a society urbanizes. So here it's a kind of society in a rural setup, while this is a kind of society in the urban setup. And when a family experiences urbanization, a move from Gemeinschaft to Gesellschaft, a lot of things are going to alter. And here you will see 3 types of major changes that are going to happen in the family due to urbanization. First is the change in the structure of the family. That is, structure may first thing, or the most important thing is the size. It will alter. Okay? Then inter-family relationship will also alter. That is, relationship between the families and relationship inside the families between the family members will also alter. Okay, so you will see a rise in what is called as generation gap. Okay, because आप समझो कि your parents or your grandparents who are now living in the urban area have their most of the socialization done in rural background, and you are born and brought up in a urban background. Your value system are completely different, and you are exposed to different kind of material culture, and due to which there will be a high generation gap. Your father or your grandfather might not be comfortable in operating an Android phone, so he cannot text you or WhatsApp you, but you believe the entire generation of entire generation of us basically are WhatsApp generation. Everything, majority of the chats and whatever we are doing, it's on WhatsApp. अब उस केस में the material exposure of us using iPods or several different kinds of apps or application or technologies will be completely different. उनकी generation आज भी वही है कि वो all India radio सुनते थे. Okay, and now we are no more interested in listening to all India radios and all that. Means it's normally जब कैब में बैठते हैं तभी रेडियो चलता है, उसके अलावा we never switch on to radio ever in our house. So this is the generation gap that is we are experiencing, and it's not that it is limited to us. Maybe 30 years down the line or maybe 40 years down the line, we will also be experiencing the same generation gap where we will be fitting into the shoes of where our parents or grandparents are right now. Okay, it's because our socialization is in such this kind of society right now. Our formation years are in this society, that is the 21st century or maybe the first few decades of 21st century. But our next generation or even the second generation after us, the society will be very much different. The urban way of life will be very much different, and material exposure that they will be getting in their schools or in their education institutions will be completely different. So we will be the one who will be suffering from generation gap. But that does not happen in a society that is gemein shaft, that is rural setup mein hai. Because most of the traditions are still intact, even in the schools. The relationship, the behavior, and most of the time is spent at the household only or doing the household work, and that's why generation gap is no more there or not there. Okay, so a child or a grandchild is as patriarchal as the grandparent, or retains exactly the same value as the grandparent. मतलब basically it can be said that what we say मौलिक सिद्धांत जो है, the basic foundation values, they're exactly same across generations in a rural setup, but that becomes very much different in an urban setup. Okay, so this is what will bring a change in the relationship, that is the generation gap, age gaps जो create होंगे. Then relationship between husband and wife will also get altered. Wife's contribution towards the decision making and economic decision making, it's basically more. अब गांव में क्या होता था in rural setup, the economic decisions are mainly taken up by the men. So you don't see your father, maybe if somebody from a tier 3 city or a rural background, you'll see that your father, grandparent, even the grandfather does not talk to the father while buying a land or while selling a land. It's like कि दादाजी का idea है that will be sold or that will be bought. That's it. No question asked, nothing said and done. And usually females do not speak about it. The economic decision is beyond the domain of females or beyond the authority of the females. But this does not happen like this. So here in the modern urban areas, what will happen? If you want to buy a house, multiple inspection tours will first by the husband, then by the wife, then by husband and wife together, then by friends of the husband, then by the friends of the wife, and then all together. So this is multiple inspection tours, and then multiple photographs will be taken, circulated on WhatsApp, and then final approval will be taken. Okay, the decision making is so intricate here that without women's approval, that decision cannot be taken. अगर ऐसा नहीं किया तो then उस घर में अकेले ना रहना पड़ जाए. So here interfamily and intrafamily relationship will also alter. So husband-wife relation. Moreover, what will happen is it is believed that there will be a decline in respect, but this is a debatable statement. Why decline in respect for the age old? Some say that decline in respect will happen due to this generation gap. Have you seen that movie Bagban? So you must remember that how Hema Malini was treated by her granddaughter. Okay, she was shown as somebody who is a conservative, and then she अचानक से rises as somebody who can speak English बहुत पराठेदार. So it is said that there will be a generation gap, and due to which there might be a lack of respect. But then there are certain scholars who say that lack of respect is not there because due to urbanization, the dependency of children on parents and grandparents have also increased because they have to take care of their educational needs, which is not so easy to be sponsored. And also a lot of conspicuous consumption also rises in urban areas. अब उस केस में you have to respect your family in order to get, or you have to respect the elders of your family in order to get your demands fulfilled. So if you want to get a PS4 or PlayStation खरीदना है या Xbox खरीदना है, so that's not something like gulli danda that you can just prepare by yourself in the village. You need 60,000-70,000 rupees, and that might be somebody's father's monthly salary. So उस केस में somebody's father might have to take it on an EMI. So उस केस में the minimum he expects from you is respect. Plus, not just कि 10वीं पास कर लिए तो अब कोई जरूरत नहीं है, अब तो गांव में कुछ भी कर लेंगे. You have to get educated till college, or if you have to prepare for UPSC, then also it's like more dependency of children on the parents and grandparents. And that's why it is said that due to this higher dependency, which has been created by urbanization, due to a lot of competitive factors that are working here, it becomes, it's like a foolish decision not to respect the parents and grandparents. So respect is intact. Okay, and then the third factor that will work or that will change is the functions of the family. So functions we have already talked about. Certain functions will be diluted, will be taken up by certain other institutions that might come up to replace it. So crèche or insurance companies, banking companies, they will be coming up and will be taking up those functions which were earlier done by the family members themselves. Okay, अब उसके लिए अलग से, due to which the bond between different families or the joint family is weakening up, because earlier those functions were done by the family members living in a joint setup. अभी there are certain other institutions that are there, healthcare, insurance is there. So पहले क्या था कि if anybody falls ill, the joint family was a cushion. Even if you are disabled, even if somebody is disabled, in that case, the joint family will take care of that disabled person, will feed him and his family for the rest of the life. Okay, but now we have healthcare or a term insurance. So if somebody experiences such kind of disability, the insurance company will pay him so much money that he can take care of the rest of the family. Again, the dependency for other members is not there, not required actually. So this has weakened the bond between the family members. And there are several studies that have been done that talks about due to urbanization, like in Mahua town in Gujarat and also in Bangalore, Sylvia, Vatuk. So they have talked about that how urbanization has led to decline in the joint families, the size of the family, and urbanization. Several special institutions have come up which have led to decline in the importance of the joint family structure. Okay. However, there are scholars who say that although the joint families have declined, but the idealness of joint family has not declined. That means although some people might not be living in the joint family, but still they idealize it. They have a dream that if they would have extra money or if they earn a lot of money, they will make sure that all the family members should stay together. So that idealness is still there. कि joint family है नहीं लेकिन बनानी है. They love the concept of joint family. And there are means this is told by certain scholars. We'll see this debate tomorrow maybe in the joint family section. But abhi tak means although the size is decreasing, but idealization of the joint family is still irrelevant. Okay, so just like this, urbanization. Urbanization is the process that results from concentration of large population into relatively small areas. It reflects organization of society. It reflects organization of societies in terms of a complex division of labor, high technology, high mobility, interdependence of its member, and impersonality, interdependence of its member and impersonality in social relation. Urbanization is generally related to industrialization. Urbanization is generally related to industrialization, but not always. But not always. That's right, impact. First point, the size and density of modern cities. The size and density of modern cities have changed modern peoples, and their social relationships. Due to city size, people cannot possibly know all other urbanites. Out of necessity, there is a shift from primary to secondary relations. There is a shift from primary to secondary relation. The personal relationships becomes superficial and utilitarian in nature. Right, second point, change in family structure. Urbanization has led to disruption of bond of community. According to Ram Mehta and Eileen Ross, urban joint families have been gradually replaced. By nuclear family. Size of the families is shrinking. That is in terms of generations and in terms of number of children both. And kinship relation is confined to 2 to 3 generation maximum. Okay. Second, inter and intra-family relation. Right? There is an increased generation gap. That is experienced between members of alternative generations in the family. But it does not mean that youngster no longer respect the elders. It does not mean that youngsters no longer respect the elders, or children completely ignore their obligations to their families, to their parents. According to IP Desai, in spite of strain between younger and older generations, attachment of children to their families is seldom weakened. To their families is seldom weakened. The major reason is high dependence. The major reason is high dependence of children on their parents' income for their aspirations. On their parents' income for their aspirations. ठीक है. Second, यहाँ पे the relationship between husband and wife has become more egalitarian. Where wife plays an equivalent role in decision making. Now, third is function. Change in the functions. Due to urbanization, families have experienced reduction in the functions. A lot of specialized institutions have emerged as substitutes. For example, crèche, playway schools, old age homes, etc. Okay. So we'll read some other case studies also related to means how urbanization has led to decline in size of the family, nuclear family sizing. But we'll be reading it ek jagah pe, that is when we'll be reading joint family in the next class. That's it for today. Thank you so much.